if you're new around here, you should just know I like interaction. And this is at 11 o'clock, which I always say this is a service with the most opportunity in the room. There's the most seats in the room. And so I always tell people, the more you interact, the shorter I preach. So who's hungry a little bit for lunch? Who's hungry? Okay, so maybe you guys will interact with me today. Hopefully you will. My opening question is, have you ever taken a week off? Like you've taken a vacation, but you didn't go on like a Carnival cruise, or you didn't go to Hawaii, but you stayed right in our backyard and you hit up places like Nicola's and Thrasher's and Funland, and maybe you hit up the local Royal Farms, baby. Come on, how many of you ever done that staycation life? Raise your hand. Look at this. Now, some of you, you're like, I haven't been on vacation since 1986. Thanks for the reminder, Pastor. But my family, we try to take a staycation once every year. And when we take a staycation, we like to drive down Route 1 like extra slow. You know, just to hold up traffic. If you can't beat them, you got to join them when you're on staycation. We may or may not wear fanny packs. I'm not sure. Look at you, Nate. You didn't even see them, you know. So, by the way, Nate crushed it last week. Unreal. So back to the staycation. Last week was our staycation. And can I go like full on middle-aged dad mode and show you a slideshow? Is that okay? Yeah. All right, 11 o'clock. All right, we'll do a slideshow. So first picture, who needs a Carnival cruise? When you can go on a canoe cruise, baby. This is actually from Father's Day. My family got me a bass fishing reel for Father's Day. Anybody? All good. One person. All right, Jeff, with me and you, bro. Last service there were some bass fishers, just me and you in this service. But they took me bass fishing out in our friend Scott's canoe. And the best gift they gave me is Stacy and Nixon said, since it's Dad's Day, you don't have to paddle at all. We'll do all the paddling. Come on. Now, a good dad will be like, no, I'll paddle. I'll help. But I didn't do that. I was like, yes. Waiting all year for this. It was so great. All right, so next picture. I don't know if this actually technically counts as staycation because this is not local. This is actually in Lancaster. That's how I say it. Apparently, I'm saying it completely wrong. Lancaster. Well, yeah, what Tim said. It's Lancaster to me. Anyway, all I know is Lancaster is the home of horses and buggies and all-you-can-eat buffets. Can somebody say calories in the 11 o'clock service? And this is actually at Sight and Sound. And if you don't know, Sight and Sound is like Broadway for the Bible. It's epic. And we went to see Noah. Has anybody seen Noah at Sight and Sound? Okay. Amazing. I cried multiple times, and I felt like Nate was with me, basically. So next picture. This day, it was 7,948 degrees. And so our family, we went to the water park in Ocean City, had a blast. We took a family picture. One odd thing is this girl in the yellow is not in our family. So I don't know how she got in the picture. But anyway, let's go to the next picture. I feel weird. I'm not wearing a shirt, and I don't want my wife to get hot and bothered. Anyway, Nixon celebrated his 10th birthday on our staycation. And so for his birthday, all he wanted to do was go out in the bay. And so we went out of Dewey over here, and we cleaned up. We got 24 croaker, we got all these clams, we got a dozen crabs that were like, legal size. We got a lot more than that, but a dozen that were legal size. Like we had an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet in our house this night. It was such a great experience going out in the boat. Now, question, does it look like we had a great week? Yes or no? Yeah, it looks like we had a great week. One little small problem that you really can't tell from the pictures. Me and my wife, Stacy, we were like low-key bickering with each other the entire week. And by low-key bickering, I mean fight. Come on with me. Fight. Okay, now it feels awkward for you. Now, I know some of you are like, do they fight? Are they allowed to fight? Do they fight? Oh, we do. And we're good at it, okay? Now, when Stacey and I fight, we never fight about anything important, okay? We fight about stuff like how to load the dishwasher correctly, come on. We fight about who let the dog out last. We fight about, who is the reason that we are late again. Now, I know none of you you guys can't relate to this, can you? Can't relate to this at all? And when Stacy and I fight, Stacy wants to talk about it. How many of you like to talk about it? Raise your hand if you like to talk. You like to talk about it. Okay, keep them up, keep them up, keep them up. Weirdos. Because my go-to move is I give you the cold shoulder. I go into what I call the Cold War. Don't say nothing. Where are the silent people at? Yeah. You're surprising me a little bit with all your whoops over here. There's a silent one, but all good.
The best way.
But our low-key bickering kind of all came to the head on Nixon's 10th birthday morning. Happy birthday, Nixon. And so I was waiting in the car because someone in our family was not in the car yet. And if I were spiritually mature, and that's a big if, I would have went inside and got Stacy's coffee for her to help her. I would have been like, God, thank you for this blessing that I get to help my wife in this moment right now. I would have been like, God, it's my son's 10th birthday. How did this happen? This is amazing, God. That's what I would have done if I were spiritually mature. But instead, I sat right in the car and the fume just built. And then when Stacy got in, that silent treatment I've been giving all week, I released it all in one moment. Happy birthday, Nixon. Happy staycation. So that all happened. Now, don't worry. Me and Stacy, we are good. I told her it was all my fault because it was all my fault. We have made up many times since then. And so anyway, I did that. I said all that to tell you this. We'll put this on the screen. No matter how much you go to church, how much you read your Bible, how much you love Jesus, how much education you have, how many parenting and marriage books you've read, how many psychology degrees you have, family is hard. Can I get an amen 11 o'clock service? Yeah, we can clap for it. It's so hard. You're the only service that clapped for it, so I don't know what that says about us, but I love it. Listen, family is messy, and even the best families are a little dysfunctional. And do you want to know why? Because we have a sinful nature, and we live in a broken world, which means, okay, and this is going to be helpful for some of you guys, which means there are no perfect families in this room right now. All those perfect, got it all together families that do everything right, and they have God bless this home, and God bless this car, and God bless this moment, and God bless this song. Those families, they go to a different church. They don't come here. Because we got some family dysfunction going on up in here, starting with the guy on the stage, okay? And every family is a little bit dysfunctional, and every family is a little bit weird. How many of you got a little bit of weirdness going on in your family? Just raise your hand, point if you need to. So every family is weird, mine included. For Nixon's 10th birthday, we went out on this pontoon boat. We went out all day long on the boat. This is not a 3-hour tour, y'all. This is an all-day event, and we went out on Aunt Jane's boat. We love Aunt Jane, and so Captain Aunt Jane, before we went out on the pontoon, she said, listen, we're going to be out there a long time. And so if you guys need to use the bathroom at any point while we're out on the pontoon boat, the way you do it is you just go down the back of the pontoon boat ladder, and you just, I'm like, what kind of redneck system is this? And I literally thought, nobody in my family is going to do that. We were out in the boat for 10 seconds. My boy Nixon's like, I got to use the ladder. And he's just having the time of his life. Next thing I know, half my family is lined up at the ladder. I'm like, this is my family. This is my legacy right here. 3 hours into the boat ride and 17 bottles of water later, I'm like, listen, get off the ladder, guys. Dad's got to use the ladder. Every family's weird. Every family is a little bit dysfunctional. So I showed up on the last Sunday of June of 2025, hard to believe, but to remind you that you got to love the family you have, not the family you thought you'd have. You got to love the family you have, not the family you thought you have. You got to love the brothers and sisters that you have, not the brothers and sisters you thought you'd have. You got to love the parents you have, not the parents you thought you'd have. You got to love the kids you have, not the kids you thought you'd have. Or you got to love the spouse you have, not the spouse you dreamed that you would have. You got to love the people in your family you have, not the people in your family that you thought you would have. Now, I say that, and some of you are like, small problem. You know my family, Joel? Like, that's not possible. Which is why I want to show you a passage out of my favorite book in the entire Bible. It's the book of James. And I love the book of James so much that my boy Nixon, his middle name, we gave him the middle name, James, after the book of James. And I love James for a couple of reasons. Number one, my man is a straight shooter. I call him straight shooter James. He just says it. So we got to buckle up a little bit today when we get to some of what he says, because he's just like, whoop, there it is. And so the second reason I love James is the half-brother of Jesus. And speaking of family, could you imagine that you grew up and your brother was Jesus? And I mean that from like how hard that would have been. Like your parents would say to you like, hey, why can't you be more like your brother? You know, the Lord. That had to get like, what, James, you don't want to do your chores today. It's too much work for you. Oh, well, your brother's just out saving the world. You think you could take the trash out? I mean, could you imagine what this does to somebody? And so James, I'm sure, had to go through therapy. But James, this is wild. He grew up and he became a leader, or the leader over the church of Jerusalem in the early church. So James believed his own brother was a son of God, which is just an amazing thing to kind of think about. But the early church had some bickering going on. They had some family dysfunction going on in the church family. And so James gives them some tips, which I think can help us with our family dysfunction we get going on in our own lives. And so check this out, James chapter 3, starting in verse 13. He says, if you are wise and understand God's ways, prove it. Everybody say prove it. Prove it. Well, how do we prove it, James? He says, by living an honorable life, doing good works with the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you are bitterly, what's this word? Jealous, and there is what? Selfish. Hold on to those two words. Jealous and selfish ambition in your heart, don't cover up the truth with boasting and lying. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. Okay, so I told you, straight shooter James. For wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind. Everybody say, family dysfunction. And so what's James saying here? He's saying, if you got a little bit of family dysfunction going on, and you do, he says our number one job is to humbly do the right thing in our families anyway. As opposed to, if you got family dysfunction going on, making it our number one job to be jealous, selfish, and doing and saying whatever we want to do and say. And so he says, don't do that. Humbly do the right thing in your family anyway. And so out of James, I got two kind of tips for you with family dysfunction. We'll put this first one up here. Number one, if you got family dysfunction going on, start with your inner self. Selfie. Now, I'll come back to that selfie part in a second. So how many of you have young kids? Like kids that live at home, and I know maybe your kids are not young and they live at home, but how many of you have youngest kids that live at home? Okay. Some of you, maybe you'll get this. In our house, my kids are 10 and 11. If I set my phone down for 1 second, my kids turn into phone thieves. And they phone thief real quick, and they disappear with my phone. Does any other parent have it? Does this happen to any? Okay, phone thieves. Now, where are the kids? And more importantly, where is the phone? Nobody knows. My kids are probably sitting up on the roof trying to download Snapchat or something. They're just gone. Now, how many of you use Apple products? Let me see the Apple. Oh, okay, did I hear ew? I was about to say, here's the people who love Jesus. Okay. Get yourself together, Aaron. Okay, anyway, so we use Apple products, and so when my phone disappears, there's the most wonderful Apple feature in the world. If I can't find my phone, I do this thing right here. I go, you hear this? Where's my mic? Oh, I can't do this all. There's too many buttons right now. Does anybody else do that? Listen, that is the greatest feature. I don't need AI. Forget AI. I just need to be able to ding my phone to find my phone. That is the greatest thing that's ever been invented. And so I will find my phone that my kids have thieved, and it's normally in their hands. The problem is when I get my phone back, the amount of selfies my kids have taken with my phone is ridiculous. Like, let me just show you. This is my camera roll right now. This is not made up. All right, let's just roll through these. Nora. Oh, Nora. Nora in an eye patch. Never hurt her eye. Okay, just for fun. Oh, that's my wife. Let's get that down off the... My wife takes selfies too. She was in the last service. I surprised her with that picture. So I'm going to need to apply this message when I go home. But question, how many of you have taken a selfie in the last year? One selfie, at least one selfie. Raise your hand and don't lie. We're in church. We're all friends. Okay, that's pretty much almost everybody. I thought we would make it everybody. Can we take a church selfie real quick? Yeah. It's okay? Okay, so go ahead and, do your eyebrows or whatever you need to do real quick. We're going to take one church selfie. On three, everybody yell cheesy pickles or something, and we'll go from there. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Cheesy pickles!
You guys look... no, just kidding. You look good. You look good. When you take a picture, who's the first person you look in the picture for? Yourself. Anyway, we'll post it online or something later this week, maybe. Anyway, did you know that the average person takes 450 selfies a year? The average person. Now, what do I tell you guys all the time? That you're above average. Now, we'll put this on the screen. This is just a question, just to ask, and this is for everybody. Has there ever been a generation in the history of the world that's taken more pictures of themselves, or has focused more on themselves, or has been more obsessed with how they look, or spent more money on cosmetic upgrades, or have more things to wear so they look fire emoji, or have used more apps to edit themselves to look better? Has there ever been a generation in all of civilization that has even come remotely close to how much we focus on ourselves? No, not even close. We live in a selfie world. And we live in a world that's obsessed with how we look on the outside. But James, Jesus' half-brother, is like, hey, just flip that. What if you got obsessed with how you look on the inside? Because if you start to deal with your inside self, then that may start to show up in some of the family dysfunction you got going on the outside. And so let's do a pop quiz, all right? And I'm believing in you, 11 o'clock. James talked about 2 things to be careful with your inside self in the verse we read a few moments ago. Does anyone know what those 2 things were?
Jealousy.
Right there. Jealousy. There you are. 11 o'clock, crushing it. Jealousy and selfishness. Now, I know, I'm looking at you guys. You're like, Joe, I'm not a jealous person. I'm a grown adult. I haven't been jealous since, my little brother stole, a toy or something. I was like, as a kid, maybe like as an adult, like if, my football team's playing the Philadelphia Eagles, I get a little jealous. But, besides that, I'm not jealous. And I get that. We don't think that we are jealous. But the Greek word that James uses for jealous is the word zealous. Everybody say zealous. Interestingly enough, zealous sounds a little bit like jealous, I think. Anyway, that was for free. But jealousy or zealous also means not just jealousy, it means resentment. Oh, everybody say, Houston, now we got a problem. Everybody say, Houston, now we got a problem. Because, listen, instead of asking, is there anyone in my family that I'm jealous of? We'll normally say no to that most of the time. But what if you ask, is there anybody in my family I have a little bit of resentment towards? Like maybe growing up in your family, your parents had a favorite kid. And you didn't think it was you. All right, and it was, your good brother or sister. The one that always made the honor roll and that never got arrested. And you took a different path. And you think that your parents or, your siblings, you look at them and you have a little resentment towards them. Or maybe it's not somebody in your family that you're resentful towards. Maybe you look at other families that seem normal and they don't air out all the dirty laundry on social media. And you look at your family and you're like, God, why did I end up with this family? I got the short end of the stick over here. We can laugh about this. This is let's just be fun about it. Because then it's too hurtful. Okay. But then you're looking at your family, you're like, listen, my family's just crazy. And you resent other people who you think their family looks normal. Or maybe either you have a working spouse, and then you have the stay-at-home with the kids spouse, and you're the working spouse, and you think about the stay-at-home with the kids spouse, and you're like, oh, must be nice. Must be nice. You guys going to watch Disney Plus today? Eat some veggie straws, maybe a happy hour, get some Capri Suns. Must be nice. But then the stay-at-home spouse is looking at the spouse who gets to go to work, and they're like, must be nice. You don't have to wipe anybody else's butt today? Must be nice. Oh, you get to go talk to grown adults. I haven't talked to a grown adult since 2017. Come think of it, I haven't taken a shower since 2017. Must be nice. And all these different family dynamics build this inner resentment that we have inside of us. Can you kind of relate to that? Is any of that maybe partially true? Yeah. And have you noticed that undealt with resentment on the inside tends to turn us into a ticking time bomb? And then we just, even on maybe your staycation, on your 10-year-old's birthday, that can happen. And so what do we do if we got a little, we'll call it resi in here. You got a little resi in here. So what you don't do is you don't post about it on social media. You don't write a blog about it. What you do is you pray about it every single day. You phone home ET. Everybody say, phone home ET. This is what you do in your prayer. You say, God, help. Help get this poison outside of me. I don't want this poison in me anymore. God, help me. All right, I don't want to deal with this thing anymore. I don't want to have imaginary arguments with that person I'm resentful towards anymore. By the way, I always win my imaginary arguments with people. I'm 100%. But God, I don't want to pass on this resentment to my grandkids or my kids. And so God, would you just help get this out of me? And say that prayer, not just like one time today. You say it every day, maybe every hour, forever. But what are you doing? What you're doing is you're saying, God, come in and help power wash that inner resentment I got going on, that gunk that's inside of me, so I don't blow up on the outside. And I don't know about you guys, but for the married people in the room, me and my wife are a team. We call ourselves Team T. But we're a team. Some of you are like, that's just too much. But our internet Wi-Fi is named Team T at home because we are a collective team. And I will do anything in my power so that Stacy doesn't resent me. And you want to know why I don't want her to resent me? Because I want my wife to like me. And if my wife, I don't want her just to like me during the day. I want her to like me also at the end of the day. Because if she likes you at the end of the day, might be a good night. But if she doesn't like you at the end of the day, it ain't going to be one of those kind of nights. And so you don't want that resentment in your family and definitely not in your marriage. And so you can kind of deal with what's going on the inside of yourself. Here's the second idea, is to start being a peacemaker. Everybody say peace. Peace. So in our family, I am the family driver. Like if there's an Uber driver in our family, that is me. I load everybody up in the car, and there's a lot of things in that car when I load everybody in the car. Okay, peace is not one of those things. Family arguing, my kids like fighting and like touching each other. I'm like, don't touch each other. That's in the car. One of my kids likes to toot in the car a lot. That's in the car. Peace is not in the car. And the number one thing that kind of breaks the peace in my family car is what are we going to listen to? What music are we going to listen to? Now, for me, I always think I'm the driver. And so, guys, we're going to listen to elevation worship on this ride. And my kids will be like, oh, no, Dad. And I'm like, come on, that's what we want to listen to. That's what me and your mom want to listen to. And Stacey looked at me like, well, I was thinking 90s R&B, And I'm like, well. But this really happened back in May. We were at the bus stop waiting for the bus to come. And my daughter, Nora, she's 11. She's like, Dad, can we listen to Shabuzi? How many of you know Shabuzi? Who knows Shabuzi? Oh, you all need Jesus. Got it. I didn't know who Shabuzi was. And so I was like, oh, it sounds like a cool kids artist. This is great. I'll pick their number one song. Okay, then the next thing I heard from my 10 and 11-year-old in the back was, everybody in the bar getting... How do you know that 11 o'clock service? If you didn't catch it or you didn't know Shabuzi like me, everybody in the bar getting tipsy is what my kids were singing. I'm like, what? I'm going to pull this car over. We're going to be, and then I was like, we're listening to elevation worship. We're not going to sing everybody in the bar getting tipsy. We're going to be singing everybody in this car getting Holy Spirity. That's what we're going to be singing. And I have done this like 7,000 times with my kids. I just went off. I was like, kids, we're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. And you got to guard your hearts. And your hearts are little and tender right now, but the devil can get in there. And if he gets a foothold, all kinds of stuff's going to go. And I'm just like going off. And have you ever started hearing yourself? And I'm like, man, I sound like a really old dad right now. I sound like a really old pastor dad right now. Like, how did this happen to me? But that moment just kind of broke the peace in my family. And my kids are just going up so fast, and whatever happened to Baby Shark? Baby Shark, do. Like, I take Baby Shark over Shabuzi any day, right? And I hated Baby Shark 8 years ago. But my kids are growing up so fast, and I'm stuck in between like dad protection mode and dad, you slowly got to release them mode. And I don't want to release them because I want them to make the right choices and have the right friends, and I don't want them to marry an idiot one day. Like, I got all this stuff in my head. Like, but I'm learning that I can start parenting my kids out of fear. Start parenting them out of like the fear of like they're going to make some of the mistakes I made when I was younger. And I'm all on somebody's toes right now probably, but these are my own toes, okay? And so I feel like God has shown me recently, like imagine when your kids are born, imagine they're wrapped in bubble wrap. And from 0 to 18, as the parent, what you do is you slowly unwrap a little bit of bubble wrap every year until they turn 18. And when they turn 18, they leave the nest. And if they won't leave the nest, you kick them out of the nest. But I got to move from parenting out of fear to parenting out of faith over a period of time of 18 years. And I got to trust that God is going to pick my kids up just like he picked me up when I made mistakes and when I make mistakes. And this is like a little side sermonette. This doesn't really have to do with the whole sermon, but my point is, and we'll go back, or this is not just for the parents, but in the car, peace was gone. Because of that, the song or whatever. And isn't it true that peace in family is hard? There's all these things trying to steal the peace out of your family. Isn't that true? Peace with your parents can be hard. Peace with your kids can be hard. Peace with your spouse can be hard. Peace with your in-laws. For some of you, I got great in-laws, but some of you like, that one's hard. Or is that one uncle that likes to post all their political feelings online? And peace is hard. I'm going to be the first to tell you, I don't have all the answers. I'm a fellow struggler. But if there's drama in your family, that's normal. If there's dysfunction in your family, that's normal. If you're struggling in your family, that is normal. The guy on the stage gets it. And so does everybody else in this room. But what do we do? Well, James, he has a great tip for what we do when there's dysfunction in our family. He says, in the very next verse, he says, but the wisdom from above is first of all pure. In other words, God's wisdom on any topic is pure. It's the right answer. It is also peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others. Let's just read that together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others. It is full of mercy and the fruit of good deeds. It shows no favoritism and is always sincere. Now, you hear this whole in your family, you need to be peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others. And some of you are like, that ain't happening. Why would I even try to do that? Well, here's the very next verse that James gives us, okay? If we do that, he says, those who are, what's that? Peacemakers will plant seeds of peace and reap a harvest of righteousness. Bingo. James is like, and we'll put this on the screen. He's like, if you want a little less family dysfunction, you, me, us, plant seeds of peace and then sit back and watch your dysfunctional family slowly grow into a better family. If you want a little less dysfunction in your family, you plant seeds of peace and then just sit back. Kind of like me on that canoe. Sit back and watch some good things start to come out of that. And so here's our homework this week. If you want to take a picture of this or write this down, that will be helpful for you. This week, all week long, ask yourself this question in your family. What can I do right now to be peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others? What can I do in my family right now to be peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others? Listen, what would happen if you're going to your family 4th of July barbecue, but before you get out of the car, you said, hey, I'm going to be peace-loving here. I'm going to be gentle at all times. I'm going to be willing to yield to others. What would happen if maybe your spouse is running late and it's your son's 10th birthday? But before you blew a gasket, you said, I'm going to be peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others. What would happen if the next time your family member posted something crazy on social media that you didn't agree with and you're about to go keyboard warrior on them? You said, nope, let me be peace-loving, gentle at all times. I'm going to be willing to yield to others. What would happen if the next time Shabuzi came over the radio and your kids started singing, everybody in there, anyway, turn that mess off. But then you said, I'm going to be peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others. Everybody say, what would happen? I think James is saying, good things would slowly start to grow in our dysfunctional families. Because a peacemaker is less concerned about being right and is more concerned that the family is right. A peacemaker is less concerned about being heard and is more concerned about the family being heard. A peacemaker is less concerned about making a point and is more concerned about making the point of the family that you are committed and you are a team. A peacemaker is less concerned about holding on to resentment and is more concerned about dishing out some mercy. That is a peacemaker. So everybody say this with me. This week, I'm going to be a peacemaker in my family. So pray for me, Joel. Listen, I will, but you got to pray for me. This is a mutual thing. Now, you guys can all do this. Now, I want to end this way. I want to rewind to the beginning of the message. And at the beginning of the message, I put this slide up. Remember this slide where I said, family is hard? And you guys actually clapped. You're like, yes, it's hard. And it is. But I wanted to come back to this, but I didn't want to focus on the family is hard part. I want to focus on this phrase up top that says, no matter. That phrase just kind of jumped out as I was writing this message earlier this week. And some of you think, I can't do this message no matter what. Like, you don't know my family. It can't happen. And so I just wanted to end, and I'll come back and you'll see this no matter phrase in a second. I feel like God just showed me this. So I was talking to a guy in our church recently, and his family story was unlike anything I've ever heard. And speaking of family dysfunction, it was beyond family dysfunction. And I couldn't relate to it, but maybe some of you could if he were to tell you that story. And I want to be vague about, who it is and some of the details. He gave me permission to share this story, but I want to, protect him also. But when he was growing up, his dad was an addict. And when I say addict, I want you to think of it in the most extreme way possible. And his dad was extremely addicted to his substance, and that addiction behavior sucked any love that dad could show to his kids out of the family. And so what this guy had to grow up with is a dad who would say, hey, you need to go to work when they were really little. You need to go make money. You need to go find a way to get money. And then that dad, when those kids would come in with money, he would take the money from them to feed his addiction. And if they wouldn't give him the money or it wasn't enough money, the things that this dad would say and do to his own children, you would not believe. And it was dysfunction beyond anything I can imagine. And so out of that situation, these kids, they lost their respect for their dad. And the dad lost everything and lived in squalor. It was just a terrible situation. And then this guy grew up and started coming to our church. And he's got a lot of family dysfunction baggage that he carries around. But he wants to be a peacemaker because he doesn't want to share what had happened to him and pass that on to this next generation. He wants to break it. And so, as a peacemaker, occasionally he does still go and see his dad. Now, when he sees his dad, he puts up boundaries, which he should. Forgiving somebody is different than giving somebody full access to continue to walk all over you. Those are two different things. But he goes and visits his dad with some barriers in place. And the last time he went to visit his dad, when he saw his dad was living in filth. His dad was barely recognizable, and his dad barely recognized his own son. And then this guy, when he sees his dad, he texts me how he felt and then what he did in that moment. And here's what he texts me, word for word. He said, no matter, remember that phrase, no matter? No matter how awful it has been at various points over the last 40 years, no matter how vicious the words have been, no matter how hurtful, how hateful, how cruel the actions, no matter the abandonment, no matter the lack of support, no matter the disappointments, no matter the tears and tears and tears that still fall, no matter. Then he switches and he says, this is what he said to his dad. You're still my dad. Get up. I'm going to take you to lunch. That's one of the most powerful things I've ever heard. Truly. And I tell you that because if this guy can be a peacemaker in his family, no matter what, you can. You can. Why did I end with that? Because we don't get to choose our family, but we do get to choose to be a peacemaker. We do get to choose to deal with the inner resentment so that we don't pass on the stuff that we have inside of us and that we experience no matter what. And that doesn't always change the people in your family, but it will change you. And if you start to change, your family may start to slowly change. Why? Because you're loving the family that you have, not the family that you thought you'd have. So this week, Wherever you're at, whatever's going on, big things, small things, you just ask yourself, what can I do right now to be peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others in my family? Everybody say, I can do this no matter what.